Oh yeah, no. It's another TwoSun Tuesday. And this one, yeah, this guy's a little interesting. I haven't seen him for sale for quite a while. Um, but that being said, it's a pretty neat little knife going on there. Yeah, kind of subdued orange and black layered G10 there, as you can kind of see. Yep, yep, certainly can. How about if I move my light a little bit closer to me? That would help. And yeah, this dude's a flipper. It's one of their older ones, so yep, it's D2. This one's a NightMorning design. And yeah, it's got some interesting kind of features there. It's got a little notch here, and also has one kind of behind there, but that makes it kind of comfortable if you have your thumb back here, or if you're really bearing down on the front. It both gives kind of a landing area for the back part of your, well, depending on the front or the back part of your thumb. Makes it pretty comfortable to use either way, which is neat. I don't necessarily think it adds much unless it was just flat, but it's kind of a neat design feature overall. You have a very, very thin lanyard loop sort of thing there, made from G10. And yeah, the edge in general is a pretty neat kind of thing going on there. You know, I guess technically you might want to call that a drop point, maybe a little clippy point or whatever. But yeah, you can see at least right there, it's got quite the thickness going on there. So not exactly super thin blade stock, but it comes down decently well to a decent edge. I have sharpened this guy a little bit up to 17-degree angle. So it's going to be just a little bit higher up than it was originally, but that's perfectly fine. So something that I've probably said quite a few times, I'm not a big fan of this pocket clip, but hey, they stopped using it a long time ago. It's not the absolute worst in the placement in your hand, at least not for me, where it'll kind of go into that groove. So it's not the worst, but this little area right here still will kind of grab you a little bit. You know, it's just it's a hot spot. Not super thrilled with that one overall. So something that I usually do with almost all of my TwoSun reviews is taking it apart to kind of look on the inside of it. And, well, that's just not going to happen here. I've tried. I've tried using tape over here, several different types. Scotch to start with, then electrical and ceramic fabric. And none of that worked. And, well, that stuff's about as sticky as duct tape. And I've also taken a hairdryer to it. So essentially, when I got this guy, free spinning pivot. So yeah, I got my dude here, and you can see this guy's just gonna spin along with him. And I did get it apart once when I first got it in by taking a hairdryer to it to kind of loosen what was going on there. And yeah, I did what I wanted to do, kind of cleaned it out and whatnot, and put it back together. And what I did, use some Lock Tite. And while it wasn't permanent Lock Tite, it seems to have kind of become that way. Because even with taking a hairdryer to it, getting it quite warm, and using tape on the back side there, though, I cannot get this thing loose. But, that being said, no blade plate, and the action's good. So, you know, got a nice amount of life in it. But yeah, it's got their standard ceramic bearings and the nylon cages and whatnot. And, well, let's see. See if maybe this little guy will be enough light. Yeah, so the liner side, you don't really have kind of anything going on as far as skeletonization. But the top part, you do. And yeah, there we go. So yeah, you got quite a bit going on there, like 4 different cutouts there. I have some better flashlights, but that's the one that's been sitting on my desk, so that's what I used. So yeah, this guy is pretty neat. It's nice and nimble. Like I said, I don't really like that clip. Um, it is kind of interesting that the liner doesn't really have any access difference between the show side and the liner lock side. It does have a little bit of notching on both sides there, so you can get your thumb skid in there, and it's not difficult, but it could be just slightly easier if there was just a little bit more of a cutout going on here to just give you just a little bit more access there. How many more times do you think I can say just? But I don't think this thing has a name in particular. I am dubbing it the Atari. And that certainly shows my age. But yeah, I grew up playing the Atari 2600 quite a bit. And this really does remind me of that, this kind of pattern here. They did like a lot of the lines and gradients and whatnot on their, 4-bit machines there. And yeah, this just reminds me a lot of that. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm calling this guy the Atari. It doesn't have much in the way of texturing going on there. I mean, obviously, it's not super polished, so it's got something going on there. But yeah, and it has a little bit more on the top layer here on the back than it does on the front. So it's not perfectly even, but yeah, it's not. Regardless of what the milling actually kind of looks like, doesn't really have that that peel ply texture, that really super aggressive stuff that like Spyderco and Emerson use. But yeah, I do like this guy quite a bit. Like I said, maybe at some point I can try to design kind of a better idea for a pocket clip for these ones, because this isn't the only older TwoSun that has these clips on there that I'm not super a fan of. Maybe I can find a way to deal with that. I don't know. I'm pretty lazy though, and I don't really have that much in the way of manufacturing knowledge, but it's kind of interesting. The other thing about it is you don't really have a notch taken out of the G10 or anything like that. The clip just sits on top. At least it's got more than one screw on it, so it's not, gigantic problem, but I do like to see it kind of nestled down in there just a little bit. Gives it that, extra little bit of grip to it, a little more security. But yeah, I do like this guy. As I said, probably way more times than I really needed to. Not a huge amount to say about it other than that. It's, decently interesting design. Dot, dot, dot. And it's a little unexemplary of a knife compared to a lot of other and newer TwoSuns out there. But kind of like the TS41 that I talked about a little while ago. This is very plain. And that's not a negative in my opinion. This thing is a tool and functions really good as a tool. So there you go. It doesn't have any, crazy visual flares other than, the Atari gradient that I was talking about there. But it really doesn't need it either. The only thing that I'd wish, and this is, an older one, so obviously they've changed that. But yeah, D-shaped pivot would be fantastic. Something that I have noticed with most TwoSuns is that they're D-shaped in the way that the way that it interfaces just with the liner area, it's D-shaped, but it's cylindrical on the other side, which makes it slightly complicated to try to slap the thing back together if you've taken it apart, where you need to make sure that the liner side is actually lined up with the D-shaped pivot there, and at least you can twist it around. But if it's D-shaped on both sides, you really shouldn't have to fight too much with it. Food for thought, but yeah, most of them just have that little D notch there. So, I like it. For the older designs, it's pretty amusing for the G10 aspect compared to a lot of the other ones. I do also quite like the aggressive black and white layered milled G10 from like the TS16 and quite a bit of others from Wong a little bit later on in the lineup. So yeah, there you go. Sorry I couldn't get you guys a little bit closer look on the inside of it, but yeah, ceramic ball bearings for the detent and in there. Got quite a decent action on it. Not drop shutty, but wiggle shut. And you might be able to adjust that a little bit with actually being able to tighten or loosen the pivot, but at least it's in a perfectly nice point to have the knife remain functional until, if it does loosen up, well, then I can probably actually take it apart. So yeah, that's the little short and skinny of the TS42, as I'm dubbing the Atari. Well, as always, I appreciate y'all, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, yo.